So, I just heard that Etika committed suicide. And I'll admit, it hits home. When I've always been depressed, and during one of my worst time of needs, I found Etika. At first, I didn't really like his content because I usually didn't. I found him back when he was reacting, and I'm autistic, so all the yelling and stuff didn't do me any favors. But I remember one day I was feeling really down in the dumps, and I really thought about ending it. And he was happening. I was looking for Xenoblade 2 content because I at least wanted to watch something funny before that happened, and he happened to be streaming it. It was one of the best decisions of my life. He was so funny, and just watching it was like, it was a good time. It was like hanging out with a friend that you've always known. And his content was, after watching Xenoblade 2 while he streamed it, I found that a lot of his content was like that. It was always so happy, it made you hyped, and it was just like chilling with a friend while having your best bro over. This isn't the first time, nor the last, that I've thought about committing suicide. Depression has played a big part in my life, and for the longest time, my writing and one specific family member, my mom, is what kept me going. And it still keeps me going. In fact, if my mom were to die, I honestly would not know how to function. When I was like in middle school, 7th or 8th grade, my health problems started to rear their head. I started getting really bad seizures, and it was awful. I was always embarrassed because when you have a seizure, you wet yourself, you act strange, and I was already the target of bullying, so I was worried that it would just get worse. Eventually, I was put into something called homebound, which is something like homeschooling, but with teachers involved. So every time I had class, basically the teacher would come out to me from the school and teach me my subjects, and I kind of liked it because it kept me at home where my mom was, so I could take better care of her, and it made me feel better. My anxiety seemed to start getting better. I felt less isolated. It just made me feel really comfortable. And through the program, I actually met some amazing people, including one teacher who I considered my best friend to this day, Miss Colleen. But I also experienced some horrible things around that time, even before then. When I was 13, I was molested for the second time by a man who I barely knew, but thought I could trust because he was one of my close friends' dads. And my only thought was to keep my siblings safe, because at the time my youngest sister was always at the place that he would come to visit. Well, he only visited once, but she basically had a second home in the fact that she stayed with the person who he came to visit a lot. And I remember one night, I had a sleepover with my friend at the other person's house. And it was with my middle sister, who's the second to the youngest. I'm the oldest. And I remember hearing that Julius was there, and it terrified me. So I waited and waited until everyone went to sleep, and I woke up my sister. And I was like, we gotta go home. I know it's raining, but we just gotta go. Sadly, I couldn't take my youngest sister out of fear that I was afraid that the woman whose house we were staying at would call the police because all of us were suddenly missing. Especially since my youngest sister was so young at the time. And I remember in the morning, after I climbed into bed, my mama was like, I hadn't told her about the molestation, but she was like, why did you guys come home? Cherie cold, worried, sick? And I'm just like, oh, I just missed you a lot, which was true, but I didn't really know what else to say. And this was around the time I really started hating myself because I used to dress really pretty. I always had anxiety, but I still made an effort to kind of look nice. And I was one of those young girls who started sprouting early. My breasts were getting very large, and they didn't stop growing. It's one of the things people picked on me for, because if I wore certain clothes, they suddenly thought that I was shoving paper down my chest into my sports bra, when that wasn't the case. However, throughout my whole life, even though I barely had any friends, I could always rely on the companionship of animals, my mama, and my writing. And I'm still here. I'll admit, I think about just leaving it all behind someday, but I haven't. I even promised myself at one point that I might do it, but I just can't. I have scars all over my arms. That one I just got recently covered up with a tattoo. Some of the scars are from seizures, and some of the other scars are from, Anyway, I just had to get this stuff out after hearing about Etika. It's truly sad, and it hits way too close to home. I just hate this feeling, because you could actually see all the cries for help in the lead up to this devastating event. But we couldn't do anything. No one could do anything. I might keep doing this, just leaving video diaries to get my thoughts out. Maybe read some of my stories so that I don't feel this way ever again. I hate feeling like this. But I'm afraid to get proper help, because every time I try to bring it up, my therapist, my counselor is more lenient. She really actually goes into effort. But my therapist always wants to just throw me in an institution. For example, I have pica, which makes you eat inanimate objects, and I eat a lot of paper. It's a combination of liking the texture and taste. And when I mentioned to her, she was like, do you want to try staying at this place? But I told her I just need something else to help me. I have too much on my plate to be in an institution. I don't want that. Sometimes she doesn't even try to hear me out on my problems. But I'm kind of too afraid to change therapists, because it's hard for me to open up to people. It's hard for me to get closer to people. So, here I am. I might read some of my books on here. This is more of a hidden account. This is probably what I've used it for, but it's good. I know nobody will listen to this, but I'm just glad to get it out. This is not, don't worry about me. This isn't a suicide note. I'm just getting my thoughts out there. I swear. I still have something to live for. And until that's gone, I definitely won't do it. This is Antoinette signing out, everyone. Etika, please rest in peace. You were the best friend on screen anyone could ask for. See you for now, guys.